All right, this won't take long. After consideration and everything and about the football team and this decision, Nick Foles is the starter week one. My press conference will be tomorrow, and I'll answer questions at that time. But I wanted you to hear it from me. It is about the football team and the best interest of, the 53, and Nick Foles will be my starter week one. Thank you.
2 seconds ahead of when I was in Detroit. Guys used to have like a bunch of tweets anticipating something I would say, and then as soon as I said it, they would scroll through as fast as they could and try to tap it in so that they were first. They would like put their hands up in like victory. It was like, man. All right, I know probably the least of your thoughts right now, but talk about defense.
I want to ask about when you have guys like Haloti and Michael coming in on the D-line. Obviously, they're talented guys. How's the whole process gone of them kind of just building up that chemistry with the other guys and working together?
Yeah, chemistry, that's an important word with our D-line because, everybody is a part of that. It's the production of a group that means the most. Those guys are all unselfish players. They'll all be used in their own sort of special way. But the whole key to what we do up front is keeping troops fresh and rotating guys through. Haloti did that a little bit in Detroit. Michael, I don't know he's ever really done that in his career, but those guys have bought in well, and I think we'll get that should be a strength of our team, and we need to have good production, not just from those guys, but from all our guys. It's also getting those guys back. It's also nice getting a guy like Brandon Graham back too. Got him back on the practice field.
Can you say what your linebacker plan is going to be?
No. That's certainly not as top secret as other things, but here's when we'll miss Nigel for this game. He's not going to be replaced by one person. I'll just say that. We'll try to compartmentalize some guys. Our numbers are down just a little bit. We got a new guy coming in, so we'll have guys covering up a lot of different roles up there. And whole goal is not to have any drop off in production. We have confidence in those guys. There were games last year that we had to do that also. Jordan missed just about all of the Washington game on Sunday night, Monday night, whatever night game that was. Carolina, we lost some guys, and guys stepped in and got wins for us, and we expect the same in this game.
You had to play base against the Falcons, I think, more than anybody else after Hicks went down last season. What is it that they do to keep you guys in base?
Well, they're one of the few teams that actually employs a fullback. So they do run some two-back sets. You'll see probably 6 different personnel groups with us. Matching what they do offensively. They use 2 tight end packages. They use 2 back packages. They have 2 backs where it's 2 halfbacks, not a full back. They have 4 wide packages. The traditional 3 wide, extra offensive linemen. Substitutions, personnel matching was a big part of the game we played the last 2 years against them. I would expect the same thing to be in this game.
What is their offense last year struggled a little bit because of the new system, the new coordinator, but he's back and they've added a couple more weapons. Do you expect much difference in terms of scheme, or do you think that like just one off season under the belt will make them better?
Well, I think that there is something to an off season and a full season, even though the system was the same, with a change in dynamic. And they had a little bit of change in dynamic. They swapped one number 18 for another, have a change on their offensive line, a change at the second tight end position. But the point is, like that you made, is the returning group is pretty much the same. I do think that every team is going to make adjustments in the off season, additions, things like that. Particularly things that maybe they don't want to show in the preseason. So we have to be prepared for, we've made some adjustments in the off season. I'm sure they have. It's not just going to be, we didn't wake up, yesterday morning and dust off the exact same game plan for the playoff game, and I'm sure they haven't done. I'm sure they haven't done that either. I don't know the best way to put it, but.
You were very prepared for that last playoff game. For example, I think it was Rodney and Malcolm both knew what play was coming on that last play of the game. How much more difficult is it for game planning purposes when you have a full year of tape as opposed to seeing them week one?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot's made. What they did is they recognized a formation and how offenses sort of employ that formation. It wasn't like we got a telegram that said that they were running that play. And I mean, but they made an educated guess, so to speak, based on the information that they were given. What was the second part to that?
So how much more difficult is it to have a full year of game tape as opposed to preparing for a team week one?
Yeah, I do think it is. It's a little different. I mean, as the season goes on, your personality is there, and even though we play preseason games, there's a lot of things that we worked on back in April and May through OTAs and minicamp that we haven't put on tape in a preseason game. I'm sure they're the same way. So it does add a little bit of a different dynamic. Adjustments will be important in the game.
Jim, Howie kind of mentioned that Stephen Means was the 54th guy. You've often talked about his energy and work ethic and how it pushed everybody else. How difficult is it to replace something like that a lot of people don't think about?
Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate that we're so deep at that position that that we had a hard time finding a spot for him. And you guys have alluded to it, since training camp, maybe even back in mini camp, talking about our depth at that position. Everybody thinks the world of Steven. I don't know the way you guys feel, but in our locker room, in our building, he is as respected as any player that I've been around. And he'll have great success. He'll land on his feet, and he'll have success. I just hope it's not against us.
Nickel is a difficult position to learn if you've never played it before. How have you been pretty happy with Sydney's development at learning playing inside?
Yeah, over the course of going back to the off-season program, I think all our guys that have played in that position have all adjusted well to what they've been asked to do. I think that the way we play some of our techniques, it's similar to corner, which has helped a lot of our guys out. It's not always like a little miniature linebacker, which is part of the job, but it's not 100% part of the job, which is a completely different learning curve.
From year one to year two, we saw your defense make a big jump. What do you expect in year three? What improvements would you like to see?
And the biggest thing is just continue to win games. That's all we judge ourselves on. If we win games, we're happy. If we don't, we're not. Our job is to keep score down. So points allowed are always going to be part of that job that help us win games, and then the things that affect points allowed, third down stops, takeaways, red zone. Those all contribute to getting off the field and keeping the score down. And then the other part of it that we did last year, and again, you can't count on things carrying over, we had a big play component to us. We were able to score the football or put the offense in really good field position so that they could score. That was a consistent theme. Those are all fundamental things that we do or that we ask the defense to do. And if we're playing good defense, then we'll hit all those targets.
Jim, were you concerned at all about how your side would react to winning a Super Bowl heading into 2018? And then what have you seen to either kind of calm those fears or not?
I think that's always a consideration. I think the biggest thing that comes, if you haven't experienced it before, and in my career I'd only been to the Super Bowl one other time, is how short the off season is. It comes up on you pretty quickly. And you got to get guys transitioned to a different mindset right away. I like our group that way. Our group has stayed hungry. They've stayed focused, and it's a difficult thing to do with all the attention, not just from fans around, but media attention and everything else. And, I'm sure you guys have seen the T-shirts of embracing the target. Last year we were the underdogs. We were the people that people didn't think could make their way through with the injuries we had and other things. This year we're going to have the target on us. That takes a little bit of different mindset also.
Getting back to the nickel spot, having Sidney play there, will that help him later on in his career if he does move back outside, having the extra skill set that it takes to play inside?
I think any time that you have a better understanding of the defense as a whole, I think that it's a good thing. But we'll have, a little bit like linebacker, we'll have that job covered by multiple players. It's not going to be just one person goes in and puts a slot hat on and he's out there all the time. We expect contributions from a lot of different guys across the board to be able to cover that. But, you look at some players like Malcolm Jenkins, Corey Graham, both our linebackers, Jordan Hicks, Nigel Bradham, they can all play multiple positions within the scheme. There's techniques involved to that, but I think the understanding of knowing not just their job, but how the entire defense works, that's what is beneficial from that. So I think that if anytime you're in the slot, you understand a little bit better how to play corner.
When you say contributions from a lot of different places with that nickel, is Sidney the main guy, and then you'll rotate off of matchups?
Yeah, we'll have a lot of different guys. Again, just like the linebackers. I don't want to announce anybody that's going out. I think that game plans and personnel things are things that are better left, unsaid, particularly at this time of the year. It leaves a little bit of uncertainty, but we do have multiple ways that we're going to cover it. Okay. Bye, guys.
Well, Doug came in and told us that Nick would be starting to opener Thursday night. What have you seen from him this preseason, and your concern? I mean, a lot of guys he hasn't really gotten reps with in games. How much of a concern is that?
Well, we obviously love the fact that Nick Foles is here, and he's been our starting quarterback since Carson went down with the injury, and we've had a lot of success with Nick. So we've got a lot of confidence and faith in Nick and the way that he's going to play and the way the guys are going to play with him.
Nick has had a lot of kind of variance throughout his career. Leading into a game, do you ever have a sense of how he's going to play, or kind of have a feeling about his performance?
I've got really very positive feelings about Nick and the way that he's played. And I can only relate it to my experience and being with him on the same team as Nick is on. And again, a lot of confidence in Nick. And the way that he studies and prepares himself to play and to play at a high level, and then certainly the way that he played last January and even before that in December, to go in those circumstances in Los Angeles and to lead us to victory there in the second half of that game, go up to New York under difficult circumstances and rally the team there and throw 4 touchdown passes. So we're very fortunate to have Nick Foles on this team.
How did Carson react to the news?
I haven't seen Carson since Coach has come in and talked to you guys.
Oh, so you didn't know until Doug decided?
What's that?
There, you didn't know about the quarterback until Doug decided there and then, or?
No, I just said I haven't seen Carson since Coach came in and announced it to you guys.
Okay. But the decision, you didn't know about the decision until he announced it, or did you know before then?
I've known,
Okay,
yes.
you haven't seen Carson since you've known. Is that?
Exactly,
Okay.
yeah.
What is your message for Nick Foles this week? It's different than him starting a preseason game. It's the regular season, week 1.
Just be Nick. He did a great job at distributing the football throughout the course of the playoffs and getting rid of the football, not holding the ball, and putting the ball in our playmakers' hands and letting those guys do what they do best. And he doesn't have to do anything extraordinary. He just has to continue to play like he did before and be the same guy.
What difference is for you in calling a game with Nick at quarterback versus calling a game with Carson?
This is the Eagle system, and I think that both guys have very similar skill sets, and they both can perform at the plays that we want to get called. And we got to get guys in the right spots to do what they do best. But I don't think it impacts it much at all.
After Nick struggled a bit in the preseason, you guys continued splitting reps with him and Carson. How does he get the time he needs to be ready for week 1 when he was splitting those reps the past 2 weeks?
Right. We feel comfortable with the reps he's gotten and, in his preparation this week, Zach. I mean, he'll be ready to go.
I guess the flip side of that is, how do you keep Carson sharp? He has been getting reps, and presumably he won't be now for however many weeks he's out. How do you make sure he is sharp when he does start playing again?
Right. We got to make sure we're getting him some reps, stealing reps for Carson. So, like you said, when the time comes that he's cleared, that he's gotten the work that he needs so that he can be ready to go.
Any idea how that'll be split up, or is that just going to be different each week? Or
yeah, I think we'll just take it on a day-to-day basis and make that determination based on the way practice is set up and the situations for the day. But he's certainly going to be involved with practice.
Mike, as far as Atlanta's defense and Carson versus Nick, I mean, they're mainly a cover 3 team, correct? So
they play a lot of cover 3.
That really wouldn't change with the quarterback?
No, it would not. In what way? You see?
Well, I mentioned because Doug was talking about competitive advantage, and the Falcons kind of play that sort of same defense. They just roll out and play that defense, whether it's Carson, Nick, Michael Vick, any quarterback you want to name. They kind of play that same system. Is that correct?
Yeah, they have a very specific style of defense that they like to play, and have had a ton of success with it. They got really good players. A lot of team speed, and they can put pressure on the quarterback, so we certainly have a challenge.
Alshon obviously commands a lot of attention on the outside. If he's not out there, how does it affect the other receivers?
I think that remains to be seen a little bit, but we feel like we've got a lot of weapons on our offense. Zach, Nelson, Darren Sproles, added Dallas Goedert in the draft, and anxious to see him play on Thursday night, and Mike Wallace and our running backs, Corey Clement, and guys like that have done a lot in the passing game in the past for us. So we still feel like we have a lot of weapons that they got to account for.
Would you anticipate that Nelson Aguilar would get more attention on the inside if Alshon's not out there?
Well, I don't know what they got in store for us, but I think just based on the production that he's had, he's somebody they need to account for. And we'll figure out quickly how they plan to attack us and try to defend Nelson and all the guys. But that'll be the fun of Thursday night. That'll be the challenge of it.
Jim was talking about the game planning, how it's kind of maybe a little tougher for a week one matchup, especially since you just basically played these guys in the playoffs, and you don't want to show a lot. How much tougher is it to put that thing together and to try to mix in new plays and new looks?
Well, you got all off season to prepare for it, so you got a lot of extra time to study them and try to put some packages together that you think can attack the areas that they're vulnerable. So I feel good about our game plan at this point. Put a lot of research into it, and like you said, we just played them, so we've got recent experience and history playing this team. And now we just got to go out and play. We got to get it tightened up here the next couple of days and go out and play.
What kind of role should we expect for Dallas Goedert in his first real NFL game?
He's going to have to be a major contributor for us, throughout the course of the season. And as a rookie in his first game, he's done a nice job in the preseason, and we got to get him in there and get his feet wet a little bit and get him into the game. But feel comfortable when the ball goes to him, he's going to make plays.
What's the difference in game planning when you're facing a team that does kind of play the same coverages regardless versus a team that might mix it up a little bit more week to week?
I wish it was that simple, that they just did one thing all the time. They do a really good job of making it look like they're doing one thing, but disguising their coverages, and they mix it up enough that, that's the challenge, is when they throw their curveballs at you, and you got to be prepared for those. But they got really good players. And, the way that they keep it simple is they got really good players, all who can cover and run, and they can rush the passers. So they let those guys get their cleats in the ground and play fast.
We haven't seen a lot of Mike Wallace in the preseason games. How's he look to you this preseason, and what are your expectations of him?
Yeah, Mike's done a good job. He played 40-some plays, I think, at Cleveland, so he played quite a bit in that game. And yeah, I mean, that's the case for a lot of guys. I think, last year, Torrey caught his first touchdown of his career in the preseason, or something like that. So I mean, he hadn't had a ton of production in the preseason. The preseason games aren't necessarily a good barometer for how a guy might contribute or where he is in the system and fitting into his role. So we're going out there with different goals each and every week that we want to try to get accomplished. But we like where Mike is at. We like the skill set that he brings here. We think that obviously he's a threat to go vertically every time he's out there, and they got to account for him.
How are you feeling going into your first game as OC?
I feel great. I can't wait to get to Thursday. Feels like it's been a long training camp, so we're excited to get there.
Is it kind of like old hat, or are there nerves that are associated with it because it's elevation?
No, I'm not concerned about that at all. I'm excited about the opportunity just to go out there and get out there and play a real game.
A few players said that some of the success you guys had in the second half during the playoff game against the Falcons came when you attacked them more in the middle than on the edges. I don't know how true that is, but if so, did it have something to do with the speed that they have on defense and not being able to kind of beat them to the edges?
I think overall, just looking back at the game, we were able to move the ball well, and we just didn't get touchdowns. We didn't produce the points that we did in the last two games of the year where we got a lot of touchdowns. So they did a good job of keeping us out of the end zone, and studying them again here this week. That's one of their strengths, is keeping teams out of the end zone. So we got to find some ways to get some points, and it's going to take more than 15, I would imagine, to beat them this time. So we got to keep doing the things that we like to do and had success, but we got to find some new ways to do some things that they kept us from doing.
Is Matt Collins ready to take a full workload yet, or do you have to continue mixing in that spot?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to comment on Mac's status right now, but he's worked hard to try to get himself healthy so he can help us on Thursday.
We haven't seen him in games since week 1 of the preseason.
Right.
What is
Me
he
either.
showing in practice?
Mac is a guy that really attacks practice. He loves to practice, and he works his tail off each and every day that he's out there. He gives everything that he's got, and that's one of the reasons why he's been a valuable member of the team. And he does a lot of odd jobs for us, a lot of dirty jobs, and he's one of the unsung heroes, if you will, of the offense and the success that we had because of the things that he does. And if it's not him, it's going to be somebody else. And we had a lot of that throughout the course of last year. We've talked a lot about guys that haven't been out there, but the guys that have been out there, and we have a history of that here, of guys stepping up and performing in their absence, and we need to continue that.
Guys like Shelton and DeAndre have done it obviously consistently throughout the preseason. How difficult is the process for young guys like that to take that production in the preseason and carry it over into the regular season?
That's the interesting thing that we all got to find out. I mean, preseason's preseason, and the regular season is obviously a little bit different. The intensity and the competition level steps up. So that'll be the challenge for both those guys is that can they sustain their performance, and obviously they know that they need to be more consistent in their approach and their performance each and every day to be able to get that done.
Last year, Doug talked about how he and Frank met the night before a game and kind of scripted out the first 15. Are you taking on that role? Do you kind of have plans to do that with him the night before games?
Yeah, Coach and I have been meeting on Wednesday evenings. Yeah, we've been meeting. Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.